Dave, thanks so much for joining us again for talking about the golf course for all the MGA members and the members of the club. We really appreciate your time. And as everybody knows, we just got done aerifying not too long ago, and the course is coming back and looking nice. Why don't you just talk about the aerifying process and catch everybody up to speed with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're lucky enough being part of Hampton Golf that we can borrow equipment from any of the courses within our local area. So Blue Sky loaned us a trailer, and we went up there and we borrowed a top dresser and a second aerifier. That way we could get things done quite a bit quicker. It also let us get quite a bit more sand out. But we started the process probably 2 weeks before we actually aerified. The 2 weeks before, the only thing we did different is we stopped our cultural practices, verticutting, grooming, double cutting, and we backed off of our growth regulator rate. We still put it out, but we put it out at a lighter rate, knowing that the following week we wanted to get the growth regulator out of the system completely. We were doing two things there. We wanted to allow the grass to grow faster, but we were also promoting a little bit of grain. If anybody knows about Bermuda grass, it grows laterally. So when you vertically mow the grass, it makes it cover over holes. So if we promoted it and made it a little bit extra leggy, it just allowed more plant material to grow sideways versus up and down. We also added some additional fertilizer, some nitrates and some extra biostimulants the week before, just getting the plant as healthy as it could. The most important thing is getting the sand into the holes as quick as possible. So before we aerified, we buried the greens very heavy with sand. Borrowing this piece of equipment from Blue Sky allowed us to do that quite a bit quicker and stay ahead of our equipment. After we aerified, what we did is we did several vertical mowings after we brushed the sand in, and it helped redistribute the sand around, and then any additional sand it would bring up to the top and we'd blow it off. That way, by the time we opened the golf course back up, it almost looked like we injected sand into the green instead of pulling a core and filling it with sand and burying it. As you know, most golf courses, when you come through, they're buried in sand so heavy you can barely even putt, and they're not very smooth. This helped fill those holes back in very quickly, and even though they were there, it somewhat helped push them together closer so you couldn't notice it as much. So that's the greens aerification process that we used.
Right, and then you aerified the fairways, and then I saw on Twitter, everybody should start following Dave on Twitter. All you got to do is go to David Levin, #2, and follow him, and you see some great pictures and process of the golf course. So strongly suggest everybody do that because you do a nice job of posting stuff. And
Thank you.
Why don't you tell everybody about the circle mow on the fairways and what that does to the fairways?
Yeah, the first thing I'll go over is, as far as, luckily the fairways are the healthiest they've ever been going into an aerification, and that started with skipping the overseed process, so we didn't have to worry about the transition like we had last year. If you saw the fairways last year after we aerified them, a lot of them went down to dirt. It wasn't from the aerification, but all of the ryegrass died out. Now we were much stronger and we could fertilize going into it. So the process, we aerified the fairways, then we vertically mowed the fairways to help pull some thatch out. When we verticut the fairways, what happened is we pulled the turf up taller, and it pulled up a lot of grass that we didn't even know we had. Then we circle cut it, and it really helped increase the density of the fairways.
Nice.
So when you circle mow, you're basically just, it's kind of a supplemental cultural practice that helps smooth out and level the turf. And then we actually would come back and mow it at a couple different angles too. So effectively, it does the same thing on the green as it does to the fairways, except it's more dramatic on the fairways because the plant's bigger to begin with. What happens if you have a plant that this is this tall, when you vertically mow it, you're slowly taking this plant and you're just shrinking it down, so you actually allow room for more plants and more density to grow in that mass. So the more we circle cut, it's almost like a supplemental verticut, and it just helps increase density and smooth things out.
Okay, nice. And as everybody's noticed, that Dave's done a lot of, resodding of some tees and around the greens, and it's turned out really, really nice. And recently did number 7. And what type of grass you been using?
Celebration Bermuda grass.
Okay.
Why do you choose Celebration as opposed to common Bermuda or 419 or something else?
Yeah, well, common Bermuda you can't purchase, but the reason we don't use it over 419 is when you use the Celebration, it masks all your other grasses much better together. And typically when you do sod work, you shouldn't have to worry about too many different grasses coming through. But even if you were to fumigate, say 100 square feet, 1 square foot of that, you would still have some other variety in there. So Celebration masks it the best, and it's a very aggressive grass. One thing that we noticed is anywhere that we sodded with Celebration grass, it took 0 mite damage too. So it's we didn't realize that beforehand, but it's a lot less susceptible to some of our insect issues. Now in the shade, we will use zoysia grass because the Bermuda grass will not grow as good in those shaded areas.
Right, definitely does not. That's for sure. And do you want to give everybody just an update on, 15, on what the process is going along there, and just where everything stands?
Yeah, well, right now we're just in the process of getting bids on some construction work for number 15 to correct drainage issues and possibly reshape the hole versus steps. So we're really just in beginning stages of looking at options.
I know one area that I've heard about from time to time is the backside of 13, and you and I have talked about that and joked about it a couple of times about that little trough that's back there.
Oh, yeah, as far as that goes, as soon as we get a chance, we'll come out there and cut it out. And
that zoysia you put in back there was really great, and I've heard a lot of positive comments about that. It's just that one little indentation there that's on the backside of the green, and I keep telling everybody, Dave's going to get to it, Dave's going to get to it.
Absolutely, and that's Empire zoysia grass that we use there.
And we've talked, through the years about, you're going to fertilize more this year going into the winter than you did last year. And, you're definitely, you can smell it on the range. I love it having grown up in that industry. Smelling fertilizer, personally, I just love the smell of fertilizer. So, but I know you've been doing it more on the greens and the fairways, and you can definitely tell a difference for sure. And the course is in great shape, and you're doing a great job.
I'd also give you kudos for the job you did on the aeration. I must have heard this past weekend 20 different comments about how well the greens looked after such a short period of time ago that they were aerated. And people couldn't believe how good they looked and how smooth they were. It's just not anything like anything that we've ever seen before. So you did a great job on that.
Good. We spend a little extra time on it, but keep that in mind in the future. If we have 1 to 2 extra days, it can make a significant amount of difference on how much better they're going to play.
Absolutely. Throw some Mother Nature rainfall on it, and that definitely makes it better.
Yeah, that was
good. Good time for us to get some rain.
I think we've had 6
sure.
inches in about 3 weeks here.
Wow.
great.
Well, you're doing a great job, and we love you, and just keep up the hard work. This is plenty is doing well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I know
Absolutely.
everybody
Thanks, buddy.
appreciates hearing from you.
Good to see y'all.
Absolutely, man. Good to have you around, partner.